Hey guys, welcome back to Freedom Homestead. I am Tangie, and today we are cooking up some romantic food. Now, some people think romance is steak, and other people think a romantic dinner involves lobster, but for my man, nothing says I love you more than meat and potatoes. So that is exactly what I am making for him tonight. And stick around because we are cooking up some fried venison steak and mashed potatoes with gravy. Let's do this. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we are going to make fried backstrap steaks, and this is one of my husband's absolute favorites. If this doesn't scream a man's meal, I don't know what does. So let's get started. To start this country fried steak, the first thing we need to do is make our coating. So in the first pie plate there, I just have all-purpose flour. In this second pie dish, I am creating the egg wash. I cracked open one egg and I added about a half a cup of milk. And now, gotta add the Frank's. So a few hearty dashes of Frank's Red Hot sauce, and then we're going to scramble. Now we're going to do the last part, which is the breading, and this is the flour that you're going to season, and everything for me is to taste. So I'm adding salt, Lowry seasoning salt, some cayenne pepper for heat, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. Now get your fingers in there and mix it up. And now it's time to bread our deer backstrap steaks. These steaks have been tenderized by the butcher. You can see all the little notches in there. So first we're going to dip it in our all-purpose flour, which helps the egg wash to stick. Then into the egg wash after we shake off the excess, and then into our seasoned flour. This is going to make for a nice thick crust. When I'm doing the final dredging, I like to make sure that I press that flour down in there. So now it's time to cook. In my cast iron skillet, I am adding enough oil to coat the bottom of the pan really well, and I heat it over medium-high heat. Then when my oil is good and hot, I add my steaks. About 2 minutes later, my steaks were nice and golden brown on one side, so it was time to flip them. About 2 minutes later, they were finished, and I just took them out and put them on a pie dish that had been lined with paper towels to help absorb some of the oil. So now we're going to make a gravy to go over the mashed potatoes that are cooking in that big stainless steel pot on the back of the stove. I start by pouring out the oil and adding in about a tablespoon or so of butter. This is going to help loosen some of the brown bits stuck to the bottom of the pan, which makes for a very yummy gravy. And we're going to stir that around and let it get melted. Our butter is good and melted, we're going to add in a few tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I think I added about 3 tablespoons. I just eyeballed it. Now we're going to season with salt and pepper, a little heavier on the pepper than on the salt. we're gonna whisk this all together until it's combined, and then we're gonna let it cook for just a minute before we add in the ingredient that really makes this gravy amazing. So here it is. I am adding a pint of, well, I would call it chicken broth, but it's practically chicken jello. This is bone broth from where I cooked down a bunch of chicken leg quarters, and the flavor is just amazing. So it's going to melt down and create an amazing gravy. So after the chicken broth kind of melted and absorbed the flour, I saw that it was safe to add a little bit of milk, so I went ahead and did that. And then I'm also going to add more pepper. I mean, what's it gonna hurt? Pepper never hurt anybody. To make this dinner more fun and more special, we decided to do a fun drink, and this is called a mocktail. This is a recipe we got from Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. So in my NutriBullet cup, I've added some ice, some sliced canned peaches, and there are some mandarin oranges. Now we're going to add a whole ripe banana. This is a fun fruit drink, and I'm sure that you could add several different varieties of fruits if you wanted to. But this is the one that we like. And over top of the fruit, we're going to squeeze in some lemon. And then the secret ingredient, which is Ale 8. This is a carbonated beverage. It's a lemon lime made right here in Kentucky, and it's very delicious, not too sweet. Then we're going to blend it up, and then when they were finished, I would just pour them in a mug and set them in the freezer until they were ready to drink. And to make our dinners a little bit more fancy, the mocktails. Very refreshing and Kentucky Proud with the L8.
That is so good, hon.
It's got L8 in it.
L8? Inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Honey, would you mind taking the plates to the sink?
As you wish.
Whew, I'm full. That was the dinner that my cousin Jared gave us.
This was a wonderful meal. Thank you so much for doing that.
Very well.
Awesome.
Emily's being mean to me.
Liar! Liar!
Get back, you witch!
I'm not a witch, I'm your sister.
Guys, quit fighting. I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
Inconceivable.
I don't think it means what you think it means. You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you.
You seem like a decent daughter. I hate to die.
And they lived happily ever after. The end.
Tomorrow night you can read this to me again if you want.
As you wish.
Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this Frugal Family Food Valentine's Day meal. It wasn't fancy, but I think my man loved it.
I did. It was great.
Good. Just remember that Valentine's Day meals don't have to be fancy. They just have to be with the one that you love. We hope that you also caught our Princess Bride references. That is my favorite movie of all time. Stay tuned because next week Amanda from the Fundamental Home and co-creator of Frugal Family Food, she and her husband are going to be bringing us the next romantic meal. Also in the iCard, up in the eye in the sky over here, is the playlist for all of the past Frugal Family Food collaborators. But if you just want to check out the other collaborators that participated this month and shared romantic dinner ideas, check those in the description box below. And as always, we want to remind you that we have an amazing, huge, growing community on Facebook, Frugal Family Food, and you can also find the link to that group in the description box below, where we are constantly sharing tips and tricks to help you feed your family well on a budget.
That's right.
And I think that's it, unless you can think of anything else.
Oh yes, there is one more thing.
Oh my goodness!
Yes,
I am. Oh my goodness.
You have a singing Valentine from your husband, Jackie?
Oh my goodness. Y'all will have I burnt toast earlier.
It's just fine.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you, only you.
Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. Thank you all so
Let me
much.
have a box.
Oh, nice. That's always a wonderful touch.
And another shot. One more for you.
Oh, okay.
Heart of my heart, I love you. Life would be naught without you. Light of my life, my darling, I love you. I love you. I can forget you then.